Welcome back, everybody. These are the best films that came out in the year 1961. Again, we're going to cover drama, horror, romance, comedy, classic, thrillers, horror, sci-fi. We're going to cover slasher films and World War II era drama. Every genre we're going to cover right here because we're going to cover all the best films that were released in 1961. Some of these were not blockbusters. Most of them were. Some of these were duds, some of them were comedy and quirky. It's up to you if you remember any of these. Alright, let's go ahead and check out the films that came out, the best films of 1961. A Woman is a Woman. Comedy, drama, and romance. An exotic dancer is desperate to become a mother and accepts her reluctant boyfriend's suggestion that she can be impregnated by his best friend. Next up we have as a classic, A Raisin in the Sun. A substantial insurance payment can mean either financial salvation or personal ruin for a poor black family. Drama. A Raisin in the Sun. This movie was good. If you watch it, you'll love it. All in a Night's Work. Romantic comedy, and romance. Tony Ryder takes over his dead uncle's media empire while trying to keep quiet in the mysterious circumstances of his death in a Palm Beach hotel room. Angel Baby. A young woman's transformation from healed to healer incurs many dramatic changes, some of which are much more apparent than others. Drama. Angel Baby. Armored Command, Drama and War. An American army unit is trapped in a small town during a German counterattack and discovers that a spy in the town is providing the Germans with information about them. Armored Command. Elevator to the Gallows. A self-assured businessman murders his employer, the husband of his mistress, which unintentionally provokes an ill-fated chain of events. Elevator to the Gallows. A Taste of Honey, Drama. A pregnant teenage girl must fend for herself when her mother remarries, leaving the girl with only a new male friend for support. A Taste of Honey. Babes in Toyland. Comedy, family, fantasy, and musical. Mary Contrary is set to marry Tom Piper when he is kidnapped by Rodrigo Gonzorego, two goons working for the evil Barnaby who wants to marry Mary for her inheritance. Barbaros. Governor Pontius Pilate gave the populace a choice to spare either Barbaros, a criminal, or Jesus, condemned as a heretic. Barbaros. The Beast of Yucca Flats. A defecting Soviet scientist is hit by a nuclear explosion near Yucca Flats and roams around a beast. The Beast of Yucca Flats. Blue Hawaii. Rock musical, comedy, and musical. After arriving back in Hawaii from the army, Chad Gates defies his parents' wishes for him to work at the family business. Blue Hawaii will not disappoint. Next up we have is The Best of Enemies. In 1941, during the Desert War, the Italian Captain Blasi and the British Major Richardson alternate between being bitter enemies or best friends. The Best of Enemies. Breakfast at Tiffany's. A young New York socialite becomes interested in a young man who has moved into her apartment building, but her past threatens to get in the way. Feel-good romance, romantic comedy. Breakfast at Tiffany's. The Children's Hour. A rebellious student at a girls' school accuses two teachers of lesbianism. Tragedy, drama, and romance. The Children's Hour with Audrey Hepburn. Come September. Younger generation versus older folks on vacation at an Italian villa. Comedy, romance. Come September. Rock Hudson and Gina Lola Brigida. Next up we have is Creature from the Haunted Sea. A crook decides to bump off members of his inept crew and blame their deaths on a legendary sea creature. What he doesn't know is that the creature is real. Creature from the Haunted Sea. Cry for Happy. U.S. Navy photographic team uses Tokyo Geisha House as its home. Cry for Happy, Glenn Ford and Donald O'Connor. Next up we have is the classic Muñecos Infernales. 4 men are cursed by a voodoo priest for stealing a sacred idol from his temple. Soon a band of murderous doll men are after the men and their families. Muñecos Infernales. Divorced Italian style. A married Sicilian baron falls in love with his cousin and vows to wed her. But with divorce illegal, he must concoct a crime of passion to do away with his wife. Dondi. 6 American GIs stationed in Italy befriend an orphan boy, but the soldiers remain unaware that the lad has stowed away with them when they return to the U.S. David Jansen, Patti LePage, and Walter Winchell. Don't Knock the Twist. Musical. Many twist dancers meet to prepare for the TV variety show The Twist. While the special is still in production stages, jealousies lead to problems and a whole lot of dancing. Don't Knock the Twist. El Mundo de los Vampires, the world of the vampires. A vampire uses 2 sisters to seek revenge from the last member of a family that persecuted the vampires in Europe. El Mundo de los Vampiros. El Cid. The fabled Spanish hero Rodriguez overcomes a family vendetta and court intrigue to defend Christian Spain against the Moors. El Cid. The Errand Boy. A goofy paper hanger is hired to root out a financial inefficiency on a Hollywood studio lot, wreaking havoc as he goes. The Errand Boy with Jerry Lewis. Fanny. Young Marius dreams of leaving his dull provincial life and seeing the world. When the beautiful Fanny declares her adoration for him, Marius must choose between an adventurous life or her, Fanny. The Fiend of Dope Island. A nightclub entertainer and the man she truly loves conspire to end a black marketeer's tyrannic rule. The Fiend of Dope Island. Next up we have is Flower Drum Song. A young woman arrives in San Francisco's Chinatown from Hong Kong with the intention of marrying a rakish nightclub owner, unaware he is involved with one of his singers. Flower Drum Song. Classical musical, comedy, and musical. Gidget Goes Hawaiian. Gidget, on vacation in Hawaii, finds a gang of lads vying for her attention, starting a chain of romantic complications when her boyfriend arrives. Gidget Goes Hawaiian. Go Naked in the World. Son of a successful Greek immigrant is torn between the expectations his father has for him and his passionate love affair with the beautiful prostitute. Go Naked in the World. The Guns of Navarone. A team of allied saboteurs is assigned an impossible mission: infiltrate an impregnable Nazi-held Greek island and destroy the 2 enormous long-range field guns that prevent the rescue of 2,000 trapped British soldiers. Hell to Eternity. When his adoptive Japanese-American family is sent to Manzar after Pearl Harbor, a young Chicago enlists in the Marines to become a hero. Hell to Eternity. The Honeymoon Machine. A Navy lieutenant and his civilian friend use a classified computer to help them break the bank at a Venetian casino. The Honeymoon Machine. Comedy and farce. I Brigati Italiani. Based on the events from the Italian Civil War in 1860s, a member of the guerrilla force captures a colonel from the opposing army and later leads one of the sides to victory. Vittorio Gassman, Italian film. Another film, Il Re di Provençal. A charming rogue, self-proclaimed leader of Naples, locks horns with an American army general and police inspector, featuring Ernest Borgnine and Guido Celano. Il Re de Provençal. Judgment at Nuremberg. In 1948, an American court in occupied Germany tries 4 Nazis judged for war crimes. Judgment at Nuremberg. Drama and war. King of the Roaring Twenties, the story of Arnold Rothstein. The story of flamboyant Prohibition-era gangster, gambler, and bootlegger Arnold Rothstein. Living Venus. Man and his partner, a photographer, start up a men's magazine called Pagan. Living Venus. You'll see what goes on and comes off. Lola. Next thing we have is the movie Lola. Drama and romance. A bored young man meets with his former girlfriend, now a cabaret dancer, a single mother, and soon finds himself falling back in love with her. Lola. Her name was Lola. Look in any window. A teenager's parents finally realize how bad their home life is when their son is arrested for prowling. Look in any window drama featuring Paul Anka. Lover Come Back. A series of misunderstandings leaves an advertising executive with a campaign for a product which has not yet been invented, while he romances his rival in the guise of its inventor. Lover Come Back. Werewolf in a girl's dormitory. At a girls' school, several students are murdered by a snarling wolfman-like creature. Suspicion falls upon a newly arrived teacher. Werewolf in a girls' dormitory. Mad Dog Cole. Story of Vincent Mad Dog Cole, a notorious gangland killer in the 1930s. True crime biography and crime. The Misfits. A divorcee falls for an over-the-hill cowboy who is struggling to maintain his romantically independent lifestyle. Contemporary Western drama and romance. The Misfits. Misty. Drama and family. Every year, the Chicoutimi Fire Department rounds up the wild ponies of Ace Island and then auctions off the colts and yearlings to thin out the herd. Misty. David Ladd and Arthur O'Connell. Mysterious Island. During the Civil War, a group of Union soldiers, a Confederate, and a civilian escaped the stockade using a hot air balloon and end up on a strange Pacific island. Mysterious Island. Night Tide. A young sailor is attracted to a mysterious mermaid performing at a carnival, but soon suspects that the girl is actually a siren who draws men to their watery depths during the full moon. Drama, horror, romance, and thriller. On the Double. At the time of invasion of Normandy, an American soldier is asked to impersonate a British general in order to confuse German spies and assassins in London. Danny Kaye and Dana Winter. 101 Dalmatians. When a litter of Dalmatian puppies are abducted by the minions of Cruella, the owners must find them before she uses them for a diabolical fashion statement. 101 Dalmatians. 1, 2, 3. In West Berlin during the Cold War, a Coca-Cola executive is given the task of taking care of his boss's socialite daughter. 1, 2, 3. Featuring James Cagney. One-Eyed Jacks. After robbing a bank in Mexico, Dad absconds with the loot, leaving his partner Rio to be captured by the rules. One-Eyed Jacks. Classical Western drama. The Parent Trap. Teenage twin sisters swap places and scheme to reunite their divorced parents. Comedy, family, and romance. The Parent Trap. Next up we have the classic comedy and drama, Pocket Full of Miracles. New York bootlegger Dave the Dude and his girlfriend Elizabeth Queenie Martin try to turn boozy street beggar Apple Annie into a society lady when Annie learns that their daughter Louise is marrying the son of a Spanish count. Police Dog Story. A rookie policeman is sent to the police dog training school with a half-wild German shepherd. Police Dog Story. Next up we have is The Choppers. Crime and drama. A gang of teenage delinquents terrorize a small community by stealing cars and stripping them for parts, then selling them to a crooked junkyard owner. The Choppers. The Last Time I Saw Archie. Two Air Force friends have fun during their enlistment. Comedy, romance, and war. Next up we have is The Naked Jungle. 5 years after George Radcliffe was the chief witness in a high-profile murder case, his wife receives a blackmailing letter accusing him in the crime. The Naked Edge. Ring of Fire. In the 1960s Oregon, 2 sheriff deputies arrest 3 teenagers for robbery, but are overpowered and taken hostage while forest fires rage all around them, featuring David Jansen. The Roman Spring of Mrs. Stone. An aging actress travels to Rome with her husband. After he suddenly dies during the flight, she begins a passionate affair with a young gigolo. The Roman Spring of Mrs. Stone. Through a Glass Darkly. Recently released from a mental hospital, Karen rejoins her emotionally disconnected family in their island home, only to slip from reality as she begins to believe she is being visited by God. Something Wild. A young rape victim tries desperately to pick up the pieces of her life, only to find herself at the mercy of a would-be rescuer. Something Wild. Next up we have is the classic teen romance and drama, Splendor in the Grass. The love of high school sweethearts Deanie and Bud is weighed down by the oppressive expectations of their parents and society in small-town Kansas in 1928. Splendor in the Grass. Susan Slade. A poor writer rivals a rich man's son for a young woman with a secret out-of-wedlock child. Susan Slade. Drama. The Curse of the Werewolf. In 18th century Spain, an adopted boy becomes a werewolf and terrorizes the inhabitants of his town. Starring Clifford Evans and Oliver Reed. The Runaway. A young Mexican boy runs away from an orphanage in California to search for his father in Mexico. On the way, he takes a greyhound pup from a kennel in which he spent the night and meets up with a priest who decides to help the boy find his father. The Young Savages. A district attorney investigates 3 white teenagers accused of murdering a blind Puerto Rican kid. Action, crime, drama, and thriller featuring Burt Lancaster. The Absent-Minded Professor. A college professor invents an anti-gravity substance which a corrupt businessman wants for himself. The Absent-Minded Professor. The Deadly Companions. An ex-army officer accidentally kills a woman's son and tries to make up for it by escorting the funeral procession through dangerous Indian territory. The Deadly Companions. The Explosive Generation. High school teacher gets in trouble when he tries to teach a class in sex education. Featuring William Shatner. 1961, The Explosive Generation. The Hustler. An up-and-coming pool player plays a long-time champion in a single high-stakes match. Drama sport. Paul Newman and Jackie Gleason. This movie is one for the ages. The Innocents. A young governess for 2 children become convinced that the house and grounds are haunted. The Innocents. Deborah Kerr and Peter Wingard. Next up we have is The Ladies' Man. A clueless, recently single graduate unwittingly takes a job as a servant in a mansion inhabited by dozens of young women. The Ladies' Man featuring Jerry Lewis. The Last Sunset. At a Mexican ranch, fugitive O'Malley is pursuing Sheriff Stribling agree to help rancher Breckenridge drive his herd into Texas where Stribling can legally arrest O'Malley. The Last Sunset. The Mark. A man who served prison time to intent to molest a child tries to build a new life with the help of a sympathetic psychiatrist. Stuart Whitman and Rod Steiger. The Devil's Messenger. Satan enlists the help of a suicide victim in hell to lure unsuspecting earthly victims to their eternal doom. The Devil's Messenger featuring Lon Chaney Jr. Too Late Blues. Ghost and an ideological musician who would rather play his blues in the park to the birds than compromise himself. Too Late Blues. Drama and music. Don't you understand? All I can do is what I know best. Town Without Pity. 4 American soldiers stationed near a German village face death and rape of a local girl and are defended by an outside counsel, Major Steve Garrett. A Coming Out Party. A somewhat happy-go-lucky bunch of Brits in a German POW camp find their new acerbic fellow prisoner is a key officer who must be out at all costs. A coming out party. Victim. A closeted lawyer risks his career to bring a black male to justice. Victim. The classic movie of all time, West Side Story. Two youngsters from a rival New York City gangs fall in love, but tensions between their respective friends build toward tragedy. West Side Story will not disappoint. Wild in the Country. A troubled young man discovers that he has a knack for writing when a counselor encourages him to pursue a literary career. Wild in the Country. And the last one we have is The World in My Pocket. When an enigmatic woman hires a group of criminals to rob a U.S. Army payroll armored truck bound for Marseille, things go wrong. The World in My Pocket. Those were the best films that came out in the year 1961. What do you think about that collection? A lot of comedy, again, horror, romance, crime, drama, thriller, war movies. It had it all. You'll see the 60s was quite eclectic. It had a lot of genres, a lot of hits and misses, a lot of blockbusters, great actors and supporting actors. And a lot of comedy or Jerry Lewis films came out. Some horror films were sprinkled in there. A lot of drama and war movies were also presented in 1961. What were your favorite movies of 1961 that were on this list? If there are any other movies that came out that year that you remember that I didn't cover, by all means leave them in the comments below. Those were the best films of 1961. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, leave them below. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you all in the next video.